CIA Black Ops agent Emerson Kent receives his latest mission in the form of a string of numbers. Beside him is his superior Michael Gray, who tells him a story about how the minerals in the human body value only $4.40, but Kent isn't interested in hearing it. After deciphering the code, Kent burns the paper, then heads out planning to complete the mission within 5 minutes. He heads into a nearby bar, which is mostly empty with 2 men playing pool and the bartender. He orders a drink before chatting with the bartender. After a while, Kent confronts the bartender, telling him they have found his accounts, and it turns out the bartender is his target, who reveals that he was a former CIA agent who just wanted to quit the agency. The bartender doesn't drink, but realizing his time has come, he pours a long drink to calm himself. Kent then swiftly kills him along with the 2 other men playing pool, but realizes there is a witness who escapes to his car, though Kent finds his ID nearby. Gray drives Kent over to the man's home that night, and he barges in and kills the witness, but the man's daughter has seen everything. Unable to kill her, he leaves, but the girl follows after him and is shot by Michael. He goes to finish her off, but Kent stops him, causing Michael to knock him unconscious. Afterwards, Kent is put through a psych evaluation and is hounded with questions about his feelings regarding the girl's death in an effort to determine whether he is fit to stay in the field. The results get back to Michael, who breaks the news that Kent will be taken from the field and sent to monitor one of the stations that send out the codes all the way in England, phrasing it as a change of pace until Kent can get his head right. Michael can see that he is not happy, but based on his actions, it's the only way to keep him from being terminated. Kent makes the long journey into the English countryside until he arrives at the military base. 2 months later, we see Kent observing the cameras, bored out of his mind. He does his routine checks before returning to the monitor room where his protectee, Catherine, is broadcasting agency numbers. After the shift, the 2 meet up and head out together, joking about their mission. They meet their relief at the doors and head out in Kent's car. There, Catherine reveals her contract is about to end, but is thinking about renewing. She once worked at a software developer, but prefers the idea of serving her country even if she has no idea what exactly she does. She asks Kent about his plans for the future, but he has been doing his job for so long he can't see himself doing anything else. The 2 joke around, and it's obvious they like each other. They get to a train station, and Kent escorts Catherine to her train to head home. He heads to a coffee shop and sits alone with his thoughts before heading home and drinking himself into a state of depression, the girl's death still haunting his memories each time he closes his eyes. After 3 days, he heads to the train station to pick up Catherine and doesn't see her get off the train, but she soon arrives. The 2 casually chat and joke on their way to the military base when Catherine gets a phone call, but ignores it as no phones are allowed inside. As they wait to relieve their colleagues, Kent can't help but scope out the area. As he exits the car, gunshots ring out as a sniper takes aim at them. They try to make a run for it, but a van explodes nearby, knocking them down. Kent manages to get them both inside the building, still dazed from the explosion, but keeping his eyes open for intruders when they hear a gunshot in the distance. He leaves her to hide inside a small room before checking the corridor where a shooter opens fire, kicking off a gunfight. The 2 evade and trade gunfire, using the walls as cover. Kent goes searching for the shooter and barely misses him as he escapes. Kent uses his knowledge of the building to try and cut him off, and at that time, Catherine notices a severed hand and screams, distracting the shooter and allowing Kent to kill him. He returns to a sobbing Catherine who is worried the shooters may return, but Kent doesn't think they would have the new shift's code. His plan is to call for help, so he heads to the phone, giving the CIA code and requesting evacuation. The agent on the line tells him 4 hours, but orders him to terminate Catherine as the codes have been compromised. Kent is taken aback by the request, but does not reveal this to her. They hear a sound and go to check, only to realize that their attackers are trying to drill into the building. The cameras are also down, but they manage to pull up the audio recording of the facility where they hear the other employees arguing and fighting with unknown individuals. They hear what sounds like the leader of the men demanding that the male employee let them into the broadcast room, offering to spare the female's life if he complies. Despite the man trying to convince the male to work along with him to spare his own life, the employee refuses to comply. Kent then realizes that Catherine has been injured and rushes her to another room where he cleanses her wound before painfully yanking the metal out, causing Catherine to faint. He finishes up by stitching her wound closed, then carrying her to a bed to rest up. He heads to another room to clean up himself, his mind swirling with questions he cannot get answers to. He sits alone in silence pondering his next move, and soon Catherine wakes, calling for him, worried that he may have left her behind. She recalls the ambush, trying to figure out what the men wanted and if she did something wrong. Kent tells her to calm down, but Catherine just wants to know their next move. Just then, the phone rings, and it's the CIA, who reveal they're less than 2 hours out. They don't have confirmation on Catherine's death and urge Kent to get it done ASAP. As Catherine turns away, Kent pulls his pistol, contemplating ending her right there and then, but he stops himself from going through with it. Kent decides to check the broadcast room for any clues as to what is happening, and when Catherine logs in, she realizes that 15 broadcasts were issued this afternoon, but thinks all is well since the broadcasts weren't interrupted. Kent then reveals to her that each broadcast is a black ops assignment to CIA field agents, which could range from assassinations to bombings. Realizing what she is involved in, Catherine wants to send out new broadcasts to counter the ones sent out and asks Kent to decipher the messages, but he explains how complicated it is to decode without the cipher assigned to the shift. They then hear a loud crash in voices, but it turns out to be the surveillance audio recording still running. On it, they hear the leader of the attackers confronting the female employee, who is holding a gun to him with shaking hands. Despite this, the man manages to talk her down and disarm her. He promises not to kill her, but then begins to brutally attack the male employee before dragging him into another room. The leader demands that the woman broadcast his set of numbers while torturing the man with a knife. Kent checks the audio recordings of the other rooms and hears gunshots go off in the basement, so they decide to head there. A trail of blood greets them as they get to the basement door. They then descend into the dark basement where they stumble upon the dead body of a man, the leader of the men that infiltrated the building, laying next to the male employee, and Kent deduces that the employee probably had a hidden gun and killed the man before being killed. Kent then finds a laptop connected to the building's servers and suspects that whatever the men are after is on the laptop. Catherine accesses the laptop and discovers 15 dossiers on different government heads of intelligence services matching back to the 15 broadcasts she sent out earlier, and Kent is shocked to see that one of the dossiers is Michael. If all these men were killed, it would send the intelligence world into a tailspin, and they are the only persons who can cancel the assassinations, which is why they are being targeted. Catherine transfers all the dossiers over to a thumb drive, but she then finds some other encrypted files and starts trying to hack into them. She cannot work in silence and wants to have a conversation. She wonders how Kent knew she dropped out of college from a previous conversation, but he deflects, saying it was a lucky guess from analyzing her personality profile. She is interested in hearing more, so Kent begins to break down her background, from her abusive upbringing to her low self-esteem and defensiveness, triggering Catherine, who in turn explains that he is emotionally detached and lacks proper communication skills. But this doesn't faze Kent, who knows exactly who he is. He then reveals that this is his first station assignment, as before he was on the other end of the broadcasts. He adds that he was recruited straight out of college and told he would be doing very important and special things, but realizes that is far from reality. Catherine thinks he should just quit, but quitting is not an option, and he tells her about the former agent turned bartender who tried creating a new life but was killed by Kent himself, leaving Catherine shocked. As they wait for extraction, Kent decides to go over the audio recording once more to see what he can find. He listens to the moment the two previous employees came under attack, and the male suspecting that someone on the inside must have been involved in selling them out, as the attackers knew too much about the facility. They hear him mention that even the operator line was cut into and realize that the person Kent spoke with over the phone was not the CIA, despite the person verifying his confirmation code. He then gets an idea and reaches out to the operator, providing a fake code, which the operator accepts. Kent tells him it's a fake code, and the operator comes clean, taunting him that they got him to kill Catherine. Kent rushes to check the emergency cell phones, but the attackers have got to everything, leaving them in the dark and realizing that the CIA has no idea they are under attack and they are not getting extracted. Kent tries to think of an alternative while Catherine begins to freak out, telling Kent there has to be a backup plan, but Kent breaks it to her that there's nothing but the numbers. The phone again begins to ring, and the operator offers to let Kent live if he kills Catherine, as she is the only one that can cancel the broadcasts, but he refuses. The operator explains that Catherine is doomed anyway, as the agency will kill her if he doesn't, and since they've almost drilled through the wall, it's the only way to save his life. The operator wonders why he is defending Catherine as she is a nobody, but Kent hangs up. They go over the audio recording once more, where they hear the male employee confessing that he cannot go through with taking the shot. Catherine then figures that the male was the backup plan in place, just as Kent is, realizing he was to kill her. She feels betrayed as she thought Kent was protecting her and storms out of the room. She angrily tries to blame all of this on him, telling him he doesn't care since he doesn't have a life outside of this, but Kent reminds her that she is as involved in this as he is. He then hands her his gun, revealing that if he wanted to kill her, he would have done so already. He leaves, and Catherine breaks down in tears. Kent continues going through the audio recordings when Catherine, now calm, comes to him, reminding him about her cell phone she left in the glove compartment of his car. Kent doubts they can sneak past the men outside, but Catherine deduces there are only 3 voices on the audio recordings, 2 of whom are dead, which only leaves one posted outside. Kent leaves Catherine locked inside the room, then reports to the operator that she is dead and is instructed to leave the door open and drive away. Meanwhile, Catherine begins to look over the broadcast when she gets a hint and manages to crack the messages using the cipher and, despite Kent's warnings for her to stay put, she rushes to the broadcast room where she begins issuing cancellations on the 15 broadcasts. Kent makes it to his car and grabs Catherine's cell phone, but he notices something on a hill nearby. He goes to investigate and finds the dead female employee, but realizes too late that a man has entered the facility to kill Catherine. Just as Catherine is working on the last cancellation order, she notices the armed man enter the area and hides before he gets to the broadcast room. Kent eventually makes it back into the base. Catherine waits until the shooter is briefly distracted before making a run for it and escaping down into the basement of the building. She hears the door open and the shooter comes checking for her, coming close to her hiding place. He sees her and aims his gun, and Kent, who is nearby, hears the gunshot. He comes rushing into the room, managing to disarm the shooter before the two get into a struggle. They both throw each other around brutally, and the man overpowers Kent and holds him in a headlock, but Kent manages to reach for a gun and shoot the man dead. It turns out that Catherine has been shot, and Kent rushes with her to the med bay to attend to her wounds. She tells him about the last broadcast, but Kent is just focused on saving her. Catherine fights through the pain and gives him the last broadcast, urging him to complete this for her sake. Kent pulls himself away and rushes to the broadcast room where he issues the final broadcast. He gets back to Catherine, who is barely hanging on to life and worried that she may die. He goes to give her anesthesia for the pain, reassuring a worried Catherine that he will not kill her. She soon falls asleep, and Kent uses her cell phone to contact Michael, informing him about the attack, but reporting that the numbers are secure and Catherine is dead. He then grabs some C4 and plants them in every room in the base and sets a timer. Afterwards, he returns to Catherine and throws her jewelry on the floor before taking her outside to his car. The engine won't start, so Kent takes off on foot carrying Catherine in his arms and exits the compound just in time as the explosions rip through the base. He walks through the woods until he gets to a road where he sees a car and lets off shots to stop the driver. He forces the man to help put Catherine inside the car, but he soon recognizes the man's voice as the operator. He demands to know who he works for and learns the man was once a CIA agent now working for the other side, who are just as twisted but pay a lot more. He tries to relate to Kent over their harsh life in the CIA, noting how they break their assets mentally, then terminate them when they try to live a normal life. He thinks the CIA deserve whatever is coming to them, and Kent thinks he may be right, but he stopped the broadcasts anyway. While the man talks, he is slowly removing a gun from its hiding place. They both agree they are just different sides of the same coin, and in a swift motion, they both shoot each other and fall. Kent recovers and finishes off the operator before driving away in the car with Catherine, fighting against the pain of his wound and trying to stay conscious long enough to get Catherine help, but ends up crashing. A few hours later, Kent wakes inside a hospital. He goes looking for Catherine and is relieved to find her resting inside a room. He is sitting with her when Michael walks in, surprised to see Catherine still alive. Kent wants a way out for both him and Catherine, but Michael cannot allow Catherine to walk as she knows too much about the numbers. Kent then reveals that Michael was one of the broadcasts she stopped, handing him the thumb drive and telling him he owes Catherine his life. Kent asks for 10 days to disappear, and while Michael notes that he may find their bodies at the bottom of a river, he agrees to give Kent a head start. Kent goes back to Catherine and sits beside her, feeling a sense of accomplishment. She soon wakes to see him and flashes a gentle smile before passing out once more. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more movie recaps like this. See you later.